So this is a Coleman BT200X, and it's got the stock 6.5 horsepower motor. It's 196 cc's. So step one would be to get this engine off of it, swap on another engine that's 212 cc's but still rated at 6.5 horsepower, just to move forward with adding more power and speed. Now this engine might be okay, it runs really well, but the crankshaft on the left side is a smaller diameter than what normally fits torque converters. So we'll have to put on a torque converter, a riser plate, and then also the new Predator non-Hemi engine, which I'm not going to do stages, but more or less of a step one to more power. So first thing we're going to do is get this engine off. So this clutch system actually works okay if it's flat ground, or maybe if you're light. One thing I've noticed is anything, you know, a load or uphill or something, it really starts getting hot, and sometimes it doesn't even move forward. But that's like if you're on a hill, like I said. So we'll go ahead and just pull this off. With that off there, I think I can just go ahead and get the master link off this drive chain back here and pull it out, and then we shouldn't have to disassemble any of this because it's just attached to the engine. I think there is one bolt in the back that holds it onto this bracket. I think I'm gonna have to reuse this chain. If it's not long enough, I'll order a new one. This thing actually has barely any time on it. It sits around a lot. Let's go ahead and get this chain guard off here too. So I need to get this throttle cable off here, and there's a bunch of wires running through here we need to disconnect, and I'm not sure what needs to be unhooked and what don't, but we'll just start unplugging stuff and see what's still attached. So this yellow wire here, it's attached to the spark plugs for a tack that I have on here. It's also got a temperature probe that's attached to the spark plug. We need to cut this zip tie, pull that wire off, and then I'll have to take the spark plug out to actually get this temperature probe pulled off there. It's actually pretty clean, that spark plug is. Here's that little temperature probe that goes underneath the spark plug. I might have to pull the fuel tank off to get that wire pulled out of there. I'll tug on it a little bit, but I'm thinking I had it off getting it in there. It does look like the tank needs to come off. Just the way I have them wires routed, you may not have to take your tank off. It almost looks like this 8mm in this back here needs to come off. It's been a while. I don't really remember how I had it off. Yep, it's getting loose. I'm gonna pull this fuel line off here so I can drain all the gas out of this tank. I got a bucket down here. Ooh, I'm gonna make a mess, but I'm gonna try to catch it all. Let's get this little hose clamp off here. I don't think I spilled a drip. Alright, we got that fuel drained out. Let's try weaseling this tank out of here. Or this fuel hose anyways. So now I can pull these wires through here. Well, that one might be tight. I'm gonna go ahead and cut all these zip ties off here that I use to secure these wires down. I believe this is for the headlight. This one probably has something to do with the kill switch. But that's all the wires. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this air breather put back on here. I can wait on the tank. So before we get to the mounting bolts, there's this one here that's attached to the that back plate that holds all the clutch and gears on. Let me pull it out. So as far as mounting the engine, there's one here, and there's one here, and there's one here. When you pull them four out, the whole engine should just lift up out of here. All right, let's see if that's all it needed. I think everything's unhooked. It's a little dirty under here. I'm gonna have to clean that up. And clean up this mess that I've made. I'm not real for sure if I'm gonna have to cut this bracket off. I'm gonna have to wait and see how everything fits. I'd like to leave it. And I'm pretty sure I gotta cut this brace off. I think I seen that maybe the torque converter hits that. I'd like to keep it only because it has the chain guard on it. We'll see. At some point I need to cut these foot pegs off here, probably in this area, because I'd like to move them back to a more neutral position where my legs are up and down versus kind of forward. I might have to wait on that, but I might even weld them right here. That's probably a good spot. So this engine, this is still a good running engine. There was nothing wrong with it. It's just, you know, kind of being a clone of a clone. I don't know that you'd want to spend money on it. I think your first option would be to just grab a Predator engine or something similar to it that has a lot of aftermarket support. Which this one, I'm sure there's parts for it, but like I'd mentioned, the output of the crank here is a small diameter. I don't remember what it is. So let's go ahead and get this all cleaned up, and we'll open up that other engine. I got that all cleaned up. Let's see what we got. I have peeked at it before. Some kind of instruction book. Don't need that. There it is. So when I bought this, it was December of 2024, and it was $89. So we also have this, I think it's a 2-inch riser kit for the 212. I think it's needed to clear the torque converter. I heard that some people get away with like a 1-inch spacer, like a square tubing. Got a bag of bolts. Hey, look at that, it came with the belt. Huh. There it is. It looks pretty nice, I suppose. So I got the engine plate bolted to the engine. It's still loose, but the more I think about it, it is kind of depending on where you put this, even with the lift, but whether you have it facing forward or facing backwards, whatever works to get it in there is going to be fine, but it may affect your torque converter. If you go with an aftermarket exhaust, depending on which one you get, if you had one that was kind of bent around the engine or something in a certain way, it may affect where it lands. Now if you just have some kind of pipe that just comes out the side, it may not affect it, but that's just something you'll need to keep in mind. Kind of maybe do some trial and error to see where your exhaust is going to sit. Mine obviously still has the factory exhaust, which I'm going to keep for a while. I'm not trying to make this thing screaming loud or even add a bunch of power just yet. Like I said, this is just kind of step one. So as long as this ain't melting my rear fender, I'll leave it on there. The other one, while pointed down a little bit, was still kissing it right there. So that's something I'll watch out for. I don't mind taking that off or even cutting it down until I do something better with the exhaust, but just more things to keep in mind when you're working on it. So I'm gonna get this set up in here and see kind of where it fits. I might start these bolts, but like I said, I'm gonna keep everything loose, and I hope when I get that torque converter put on there, maybe I can see if everything lines up like it should before I, tighten everything down. So it does look like it very well can sit like that. It's not hitting the frame. It's not hitting the frame up here. That's kind of in a bad location. I wish it was off to the side like the factory tank. So let's get a look at this torque converter. That piece is pretty big. I hope it don't stick out too far. So let's go ahead and get this clutch on here. I don't remember where I left off. It's a few days later. looking back, I probably should have tightened everything down just so this ain't moving everywhere while working on it. Could be fine, I guess. I can still get everything on there without it falling off, so. So the reason it's a few days later is those 4 bolts I just put in, along with this main one that goes into the crank, is actually the wrong thread pitch. I did try getting it in there and it messed the threads up. But the one you want is a 5/16 by 24. And this one is 2 inches long, and this one is 2.5, and this one's 2 1/4. But they're all the same thread pitch, they're just different lengths. So I'll play around with that one and see which one, you know, isn't too long, but gets the most thread engagement. So the 2-inch one is the best fit here. I'm gonna get Loctite on that here in a second, but I'm still in like the testing phase, so. So this big nut here isn't tight. That one's a little over hand tight. So it's been 2 weeks since I last worked on this. I was waiting on some shims and stuff like that. But I did get everything put together. The belt lines up about perfectly. It may be off a little bit, but I think it's about as close as this is gonna get. The next thing I need to do is get the chain on and make sure that the front sprocket and the rear sprocket is aligned. I'd rather it be perfect compared to the belt, honestly. I don't know which one would be better, but I'm hoping that it doesn't take much to get it aligned. Because see, I kind of am concerned the chain will catch that driven pulley back here, but you know, these probably a million of these kits sold, so I'm sure it's fine. So I do have 2 master links here because I pieced together a chain. So I still do need to buy a new chain at, you know, full length one where I don't have to have 2 master links on it. But for now, that'll work. So it does look like it is hitting this bar. I was hoping it wasn't going to. That's kind of unfortunate because I don't want to have to cut this bar off, but I gotta do what I gotta do. I'm wondering if I could just cut it right here where it can still hold the chain guard. And that's the only thing it has to hold. So it would just be like this little bar with the mount on it. I'll see about that. Okay, so now we got to just shift this motor around. Try to make sure this chain's lined up. I think the back wheel is straight. I think I'll have to check it. I think I have it straight. So that means we'll just go from sprocket to sprocket and make sure it's lined up. And then I can tighten this engine down. So I got that chain pretty straight. It seems like it's rolling nice. It may be something I have to go back and change, but before we get that belt on, this cover goes on, but it actually, I'm guessing, has to be cut out for that chain. So just mark it and cut it, I guess. Got it close enough. It might, you know, self-clearance. I guess we can get this belt on. I'm not gonna put this on until after we get it running. I want to see this stuff kind of work. So we'll wait on that. Yeah, before I hook up the throttle and stuff, I need to change out these handlebars. I got a new set, they were cheap. So I'm thinking it might just sit up there while it's on these jack stands, but I'm gonna take these straps off and pull them handlebars off of there. So that'd be good for now. I might move them, tighten them up after I get it down. But what I got here is a thumb throttle I bought off Amazon. Down right there. Let's try tightening it right there. See how that works. That's full throttle. Yeah, that might work. Like everything else, it may need a slight adjustment. So before I get too into putting all this back together, I need to hook up this tack. Well, that's the tack wire, and then that temperature probe that goes on the spark plug. Last time I had it under the tank, I might just run it along with this throttle cable for now. I guess you'll probably see more of it, but it'll make it a lot easier to have to mess with it if it's not tucked underneath this gas tank and this little throttle plate thing here. So let's go ahead and get that on there. I am out of black zip ties. I don't know if you can even see that. Yeah, barely. I have no idea when. One of these days, I'll probably weld some little eyes back here where I can run these cables, or give it a spot for these zip ties to latch on so you don't see them. I don't want to see that. But until then, we'll just run with that. Let's see. I need to put this little hose back on there, I think. I don't know. This one here goes in the valve cover. It could be a little tricky to get in there, but it will go. Some of them. Nowhere close to being done. Well, maybe we are close. I do need to put oil and gas in it. I'm fired up. Check that CVT or, you know, the torque converter. Check it out. Make sure it works like it's supposed to. Make sure it looks lined up. Check the throttle. I don't know. I gotta get the hand controls put back on, like the front or the rear brake, and then the grips. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this mess up, and then we can, you know, start getting oil and stuff in it. So I'm gonna do that. It kind of looks like a total nightmare to get oil in here. Luckily I got this pump. So it's got oil and it's got gas. I didn't put a bunch in there, but it should be enough to start. Tighten up this throttle housing real quick. So I think it's ready to start. This is kind of the important bits, I suppose. So I'm gonna give it a couple pulls and see if it starts up. Did mess with, you know, the throttle and all that stuff, so I don't know if it'll idle right off the bat or what's gonna happen, but I mean, it's brand new, so it should start. Ooh. This table, I put a lot of trust in this table. Good table though. So it seems like it runs good. It's a little more clanky than I would have liked. I think a lot of it has something to do with this clutch here. I don't know what the deal, it's just a clunky clutch. But I'm also hearing that chain slap. I kind of knew that was going to be a problem. So, gonna have to cut that off. But I mean, it's working good. I'm getting the full range of both pulleys. Yeah, so I have a hill up the road, and I'll get under a load and make sure everything's geared properly. I think I have a 10 tooth on here, and then I still have the 12. But yeah, if I'm bogging it down, then I can gear it lower. Okay, well, I'm gonna work on cutting this thing off. And another thing to mention before I get started on this is a wide open throttle here on the table. I was seeing 4,500 RPMs. There's probably a little bit of air because of my gauge, but I'm gonna look, make sure 45 is okay. I haven't touched the governor at all. I know at higher RPMs you'll start getting valve float, and then the flywheel is kind of questionable at higher RPMs. And since this is all stock, I don't want to do anything that it doesn't like, or anything to damage anything. So that's something I'll have to do a little more research on, but until then, we'll go ahead and cut this bar off here so the chain stops hitting this. I'm gonna see if I can't get some of it with this cutoff wheel, and then I have a saw here too. I probably need to probably really need to take the chain off. Maybe I should take this pulley off, that way I can get in there better. That's what I'll do. See, try to get this belt off. And then all right, let's go. All right, we got the back side of that cut off. That sucks. Didn't want to have to do that. But I can slap all this back together. Garrett. I went ahead and got these grips on with the thumb throttle, and then this grip with the rear brake. And this is, well, this little black piece is a metal bracket that I had made. But this will tell me like my RPMs, my engine hours, and you can actually set like a rev limit on it. So if it revs higher than your set point, it'll flash red. So that's where I've seen the 4,500 RPMs that is on here. How right it is, I don't know. So basically that's all I need to do right now. I still need to take it out, but I'm sure the engine's fine. The main reason for the engine change was just so I could use this torque converter. But since I have the engine, yeah, we can upgrade it. But my main priority right now is just to make sure all this works. It's kind of a big deal. It does look like it might be rubbing on this back plate. I honestly don't know what to do about it. It's just so tight back here. And you gotta make sure the belt's lined up. You gotta make sure the chain's lined up. But I'm sure it's fine. Like I said, a million people's bought them and installed them, so. I think that's all I need to do for right now. So I am gonna get it down and take it out. It's all in the video here with getting all this stuff installed. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see part 2, subscribe and follow. That is all. Thank you.